Welcome to the Lake Bluff School District 65 Board of Education meeting. I would like to call this meeting to order at 7 p.m. Lauren, may we have a roll call, please?
Ann Hill.
Present.
Carrie Steinbach. Here. Lauren Hurst. Present. Laura Breakstone. Present. Amy Connell Downhill. Present. Richard Driver.
Here.
Tim Penich.
Here.
We're all here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
The republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now it's time to read our mission, vision, and motto. Amy will do that. All right.
Mission, vision, and motto. Mission, to ensure academic achievement and personal growth for all students through innovative and engaging educational opportunities. Vision, an inclusive community of motivated learners who are inspired to change the world through exploration and collaboration. Motto, excellence in education, enthusiasm for life, every student, every day.
Thank you. And at this point in the meeting, we welcome public comment. Is there anyone in the room who would like to make a public comment? All right, not seeing any, we'll move on. And we are going to start tonight with an LBES student video update. All right.
Yeah, so we have in the past tried to bring students in, and I know sometimes it can be hard with all the student activities for parents and students to come in, but so we decided to try something different this year. We're gonna do a few of these video updates and just highlighting things that are happening in each of the schools. So this is our first one.
Fantastic.
Kelly, do you have anything to say before or?
No, I hope everyone likes it, and I'm excited to try this new thing and sharpen my wee video skills. And I hope that it's.
One of the most exciting and heartwarming traditions we have at Lake Bluff Elementary School is our Fox families. Fox families are about building connections and fostering relationships across our entire school community. Each staff member leads a Fox family, which is made up of students from every grade, kindergarten through fifth grade. What makes this extra special is that your Fox family stays with you throughout your entire journey at LBES, creating lasting bonds and memories. We meet 4 to 5 times during the school year for fun and meaningful activities that bring everyone closer together. This year, we kick things off by giving each family the chance to create a unique family name and signal. Take a memorable family photo and play Lucky Dip. Super fun game to help everyone get to know each other better. Over the years, our Fox families have enjoyed a variety of activities, including snowball fights, snow, painting kindness rocks, designing inclusion posters, creating kindness gardens, and even assembling summer buckets. These activities highlight the values we hold dear: teamwork, creativity, and kindness. Through Fox families, we're building a stronger LBES community, one connection at a time. It's a tradition that brings smiles to faces, warmth to hearts, and unity to LBES.
Okay. Your wee video skills are very good. Oh, that was great.
Thanks so much.
Adorable.
It's so much fun. I can go on and on, but the video is the goal, and maybe the next one we can have you stop by and see it in person.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe, that'd be fun. Definitely. All right, thank you. Moving on to an addition of a discussion item. Do any board members have a topic they would like to bring forward to have discussed at a future meeting? I actually thought of one today. We didn't talk. Wow. We started doing this last year, and I think we should do it again. It's after the Triple I conference. I think it would be really helpful for us to have an discussion item about what we learned, what we get out of the conference.
Makes sense.
We always learn a lot, and it's nice to report back on this.
Great idea. So take some notes, and it's pretty informal then.
All right. Then let's move on to our reports, and Julie Bell, we'll start with you tonight, PTO report.
Can I stay here? You want me up there?
Would you please come up?
I don't have a presentation. It's fine.
Kelly can teach you how to do a weaving.
I know, I'm way cooler than just watching me read my, so, well, and I didn't have any pictures, that's why I was like, oh, this is boring. So October was super action packed. This is just a quick overview of some of the things that the PTO supported and funded. The Project Whole Food Collection, Fall Book Fair led by Danielle Valente and Christy Winston, curriculum enhancements, including the LBMS Summer Reading Celebration and the LBES Reading Celebration, 7th grade social with the Hot Cocoa Bar, Community Safety Series with internet, that was focused on internet crimes presentation, the Screenagers screening and discussion at the Gordon Center, Charleston Rep fundraiser, there'll be another one coming soon in case you didn't order. Teacher appreciation for fall conferences, we provided lunch and or dinner, depending on the school. Multiple spiritware sales already, and something new this year, concession sales at LBMS Games, $400 so far. And we're focused on getting a new mascot costume, so we're very specifically fundraising for the LBMS mascot. Speaking of fundraising, holy moly.
That is getting stinky.
No, nobody, that thing, it can walk by itself, yes. But fundraising, I have to give a shout out to Josh Fox. He has already surpassed last year, and we have over $24,000 that has been donated in, along with some raffle items and things like that. Pumpkin Bash was amazing this year too. It was a gorgeous night. So we netted a record 12,000 this year. So shout out to Emily MacArthur and Kelly Hart. And then Pumpkin Chase also crushed it with over 700 runners, and netting over 17,000 there. And we will get that course certified by Kara again next year. But so that, it was a big month. So now everybody is resting.
That's a lot. Thank you so much for coming and giving us that update. That's kind of fun. Very grateful for all that the PTO does. All right, Mr. Breakstone,
Yes.
Alliance report.
So I went by muscle memory to town hall.
Oh, no.
Okay, so thank you for having me. I just wanted to give a brief update on where we're at so far. So we had Sunrise Rocks. At the beginning of the school year, we were able to raise over $12,000 from that. Also about $2,500 from school registration this year. So that's fantastic. Thank you very much. As Julie was saying, the Pumpkin Bash that we were a small part of was fantastic. We helped do the Haunted Forest and that went out really well this year. And it's just really fun. We just finished up our fall grant cycle and are super excited that we are going to fund the elementary school mosaic project that will be unveiled in the spring. Evidently, there are rumor has it possibly 3 mosaic schools in the world, and one of them is in Chicago. So the 5th graders are going to be learning about native plants and then integrating that into sort of the mosaic curriculum over there, and then that will be unveiled in the courtyard. So that's gonna be super cool. We're also really excited to help fund and make possible the chickens, the chicks in the kindergartners rooms as well as one of the preschool rooms. And we're helping fund some nonfiction books for both the middle school and elementary school libraries. In terms of fundraising, we are we're sitting at a good spot compared to sort of how COVID felt, the pandemic felt. We do have some art that came upon us that we are working on cataloging that used to belong to the school and was sold to the Alliance around 20 years ago. And possibly integrating some sort of fundraiser into the mosaic unveiling at the end of the year. We're also working on Sunrise Rocks. Breaking news, it's going to be around Memorial Day. with a Saturday day and then a backup plan. So getting it that much earlier this year, same location, we some bands, last year we had to pivot because of the weather. And so it really ended up being kind of 2-3 weeks advance notice we got, and, it was really successful. So should be super cool this year too. And that's it. I just really appreciate you guys and everything's over. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I do not have a report tonight. Dr. Lealy, do you have a superintendent's report?
Just really quickly, a reminder for families to fill out our Connect survey. As of yesterday, we had 74 parents fill it out at LBES and 30 parents at LBMS. So that's as of yesterday. But it's open until the 22nd. We might just leave it open through Thanksgiving if we need to, because we're also taking our student survey and we have our staff survey coming up tomorrow as well. So don't forget to take that survey.
Will that link go out again?
We can send another link out, yep. I think we had a.
It's scheduled to go out 2 more times.
And we have the letter that we're working to finalize to send out to give parents the opportunity to be made aware of the fact that we'll administer the kids if they opt out for any reason they can't. So we might advocate for pushing it back.
Okay, we can keep it open for a while longer. Yes. 2 more times we have it scheduled.
Yes, great.
Yep.
Great.
And one more letter from the buildings tomorrow. So.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
And we are recognizing our Board of Education this month. It is Board Member Recognition Month. And so all of our board members have a small gift from the district of a personalized water bottle that we hope you enjoy and take with you at the conference this weekend. And I am proud to read the resolution for our Board of Education. So whereas school board members are elected to sit in trust for their diverse communities and in that capacity are charged with meeting the community's expectations and aspirations for the public education of their children. And whereas school board members are entrusted with the guardianship and wise expenditure of scarce tax dollars, and they are responsible for maintaining and preserving the buildings, grounds, and other areas of the school district that the community has put in their trust. And whereas school board members are responsible for providing leadership that ensures a clear shared vision of public education for their schools that sets high standards for the education of all students and requires the effective and efficient operation of their districts. And whereas school board members adopt public policy to give voice to that leadership and employ a superintendent to administer board policy, and are also responsible for the regular monitoring of the district's performance and compliance with state policy. And whereas school board members selflessly volunteer countless hours to public service with no compensation, except for water bottles. And whereas school districts have faced enormous challenges over the past 2 years, and the strong, dedicated leadership provided by the Lake Bluff School District Board of Education has allowed student learning and success to continue. And whereas employers are supportive of their employees who serve as school board members, generously lending support and time, employers give their employees the opportunity to better serve the needs of the school districts and communities they represent through sometimes tremendous sacrifice to the employer. And whereas decisions made by school board members directly impact the quality of life and safety in their communities, placing them as the front line of American democracy, therefore be it resolved by the Lake Bluff Elementary School District 65 that we proclaim November 19th, 2024 as School Board Members Day as a way to honor those citizens who devote their time and energy for the successful education of our children and future leaders. We thank you very much for your leadership and support. We couldn't do any of this without you, and we appreciate all the hours and your voice in the decision-making that we have in our school district. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Well, I think I speak for all of us when I say it's an honor to do this and work with the wonderful administration. So thank you. All right, let's begin our discussions and presentations for the evening, starting with Behavior Intervention Committee update. Tracy Rohr. Hi, Tracy.
Hi. Thanks. So occasionally, the Illinois State Board of Education releases guidance on how we need to either review or revise some of our policies and procedures. And the ISB has released some guidance on how we look at our policies related to behavior interventions, especially as aligned to working with students with disabilities. So as a part of this, we need to reconvene our Behavior Intervention Committee. to review the new guidance and our alignment with our own policies and procedures. We're required to have a variety of stakeholders attend these meetings, so school board members, parents, teachers, administrators, paraprofessionals. I'd like to thank Lauren and Carrie for volunteering to be on the committee. We'll be meeting over the next couple of months, 1 or 2 times in order to make sure that our policies and procedures, as stated for behavior intervention practices, are in alignment with the new guidance. We're very fortunate for our work that we do through Safe and Civil Schools, that very often we're ahead of the curve when it comes to implementing behavioral intervention procedures, because Safe and Civil Schools really aligns their policies to best practice inclusionary factors and not using exclusionary types of behavior interventions and discipline. So we are very often already in alignment, but it does not hurt to have the committee convene, review the guidance, and make sure that we continue to be in alignment. Any questions?
Thank you. And next, we're talking about anxious generation wrap-up and future consideration.
Yeah, thank you. As a reminder, so, in kind of closing out the book club that we did this summer with the three communities of Lake Forest, Lake Bluff and Knollwood. We've had a few things emerge from that work. One is the Wait Till 8th chapter, for Lake Bluff, and I know that we have more parents kind of signing on to that pledge every day. Remember that it takes 10 parents to sign up at each grade before it kind of activates as a grade, and then parents get the emails of the other parents who signed the pledge to wait until it really is now the end of 8th grade before giving their child a cell phone or a smartphone. So that is still up and running. We did co-sponsor the Screenagers event at Gorton with, again, the 3 communities, and we had parents there from all 3 districts, as well as Forest Bluff and some other surrounding area districts, Wilmette and Winnetka, and some other educators that are interested in that work. That was a really successful event. I was able to attend a professional development session with Lake Forest High School last week or a week and a half ago, some teachers that have decided to take up the anxious generation work and talk about how it applies at the high school. I know they're working on the cell phone policies and procedures in classrooms and getting consistency there, and then also talking about purposeful use of technology. Our technology committee is going to continue with these conversations throughout the year. Kevin has reinstated the committee. We have some board members on there. And just as of the last couple of weeks, we've been made aware that a lot of districts in our area are really kind of quietly having this conversation, especially around just what do we want with technology at this point. We feel like we're kind of at a turning point almost of like, what do we want? And so it's not going away in our district, but we can certainly be thoughtful and purposeful about how we utilize it. And so I just wanted to keep the board updated on kind of the developments as they continue, and we'll keep you posted on the work of the tech committee as well. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Lisa, so first off, I mean, your leadership in this has been fantastic. So I think you're out in front of it with the whole community as well as the school. And I think that's setting a great example for leadership. So I read it. I only finished that through, but as a school, there weren't a lot of things for schools, but one thing I picked up on was just alerting parents, you know, that if students were starting to suffer some, they should like take phones away at, 9 o'clock at night. I mean, should we as a school should we send out like suggestions to parents, or should it be the other way around, parents coming to us, you think?
I think we've had it go both ways. I mean, we've had parents actually come, I think, to our building administrators and talk about frustrations with technology use. We've had the conversation a little bit here with regard to the devices that we actually send home. So part of our conversation through the tech committee is going to be, what do we want with the devices that we actually purchase and have for kids to use, whether or not we want to keep sending those home. The personal devices, some of that work was done when Jesse Weinberger came to us last year. And we've talked about repeating that session every other year with a new crop of kids, and to have that parent presentation. She's pretty blunt with that advice. And then
Yeah.
we've sent out that data in various events throughout the year after that. So I do think that's a powerful piece of what we've been doing. You know, it's kind of a personal issue, I think, for some families, kind of how they manage technology in their house. And so I think the best that we can do is provide the data of what our kids are telling us, which obviously our kids were telling us. They were having a hard time putting it down. You know, they felt better when parents took it away. So we're kind of trying to empower kids to have those conversations and parents to be aware of that information. But I think we've talked about other opportunities where we can maybe have that information available, so it's a good reminder.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important for us to continue to
Yeah.
try to lead. And
I agree. I agree. Any other thoughts or questions on that?
Thank you for that. Do you want to keep it going?
I can keep
with Portrait of a
going,
Learner?
yes. Really quickly, the Portrait of a Learner, as you know, is a 3-district kind of North Star that we did together with Lake Forest 67 and 115. Jackie and I were able to attend an administrative meeting with both districts in Lake Forest last week, where we kind of discussed what we see as how to actually facilitate some of those outcomes. I was able to meet with Steve Dunn, who's an instructional director over there, as well as Renee Fitzsimmons and Aaron Leonard about before that meeting, like what do we see as a possible way for us to implement and really measure some of the characteristics and competencies on the portrait. So I'm here to kind of put an idea out and see if you have any thoughts about it. But as we were talking, we thought that those 6 competencies of confidence, adaptability, empathy, communication, critical thinking, and citizenship are big. Those are big ideas, big areas, some of them that are more measurable than others. And we felt that some of them were a little bit more maybe applicable to the older grades and some were maybe applicable to the younger grades. So what we're thinking about is potentially focusing efforts at the high school on critical thinking and citizenship, since civics is really part of their curriculum and it's already built in. And then kids have a little bit more opportunity to go out into the community and do more. And that critical thinking aspect would be built into a benchmark assessment sort of at the end of high school. And then for us, we would be looking to really figure out a benchmark between District 67 and 65 that would focus on communication. Because we feel like that's an important skill that they need before they go to the high school. That would be written, speaking, listening, reading, right? All forms of communication. And then we would focus our efforts in the early grades more on confidence, adaptability, and empathy, which measuring those is a little bit more difficult. It's more like self-reporting, more subjective, but obviously things that we want to work on before students get into middle and high school. So just throwing it out there as some thoughts for a proposed sequence of the competencies kind of rolling up through the grades and not maybe focusing on all of them every year, but more scaffolding it so that we get to the more complicated competencies at the end of the K-12 experience. Any thoughts on that?
I like that idea. I mean, the idea is, this is what a portrait of a learner is, a portrait of a graduate is really, right? And so they're supposed to be competent. We hope we prepare them to be competent in all of these areas by the time they graduate high school. And so maybe if we do it in smaller chunks,
Yeah.
so to speak, it will sink in more. Were you gonna say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, I love that idea because it feels so overwhelming to look at those big words. And to be able to measure that, like in my head, I can't picture how that gets measured, and obviously I don't have the educative background, so it makes it even more difficult. But I think that's perfect. What was the other one for the younger besides confidence and adaptability
And empathy.
and empathy?
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, and we really felt like citizenship is one of those that incorporates all of those. Like, you have to have worked through all of the rest of the competencies to be a good citizen and to really understand your civic responsibility. So it felt like a good sequence. So if we're feeling that that's a kind of good way to move forward, Lake Forest is proposing it to their 2 boards, and then we'll keep getting together as an administrative team to stay aligned and work on what this actually looks like.
I also love the alignment with 67 for the younger grades.
Mm-hmm. Same, and then we funneled together
Yeah.
into 115. Yeah.
Has there been a discussion of like an assessment on communication, like what that would involve?
So, yeah, it would be sort of project or problem-based situation where a student might pick something they're passionate about or something that they feel like they have an interest in, and they would incorporate some research, speaking, listening, writing, maybe interviewing, so kind of something that would take into account all of those skills that a good communicator should have. And then we talked about having the students actually present it, maybe not necessarily to their teachers, but maybe involved in the community as some kind of a performance-based assessment. So we're still talking about that, but that's the direction it feels like it's going.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, and then state report card update.
Yep, I'm gonna, mirror my screen here, and as you all know, the state report card came out on Halloween. And we love that that's the release date every year. That makes it really exciting. And scary. So, we always start with our mission, vision, and motto, which we read at every meeting, but this report card is gonna be a pretty high level overview. This is just the state report card that only, reflects our results on the Illinois Assessment of Readiness, which is the standardized assessment that's given across the state. So just as a reminder, we as a district really believe in some of these core values of equitable, purposeful, and respectful assessment for students. So we don't only look at the IAR when we're assessing whether or not our students are successful. We incorporate our MAP assessment that happens 3 times a year, as well as we're working on how to incorporate our English language proficiency assessment for our multilingual learners, as well as the IEP goals that happen for our students with disabilities. So we're trying to give our students multiple ways to demonstrate success. And that's included in our metrics. So we went over this last time, the goals that we had at the beginning of our strategic plan. We know that we met our goal and exceeded our goal actually in ELA when we consider IAR and MAP. We know we did not meet our goal in terms of MAP. So our new metrics, we're gonna try to get to 87% of our students demonstrating proficiency and or growth on those 2 assessments and keeping our goal at 83% for MAP. So again, our metrics incorporate both of those assessments, but today we're just gonna focus on IAR. One thing that I always like to talk about when we look at data is that we have a small district and we only have a couple of teachers in some circumstances that are responsible for some of these areas. So for example, we only have a couple of 7th grade ELA teachers. And so when you look at 7th grade data, sometimes when we talk about it, it's really personal for the teachers who teach those classes. But what we talk about with our teachers is we're all collectively responsible for these data together. We're all teachers of language, we're all teachers of reading, and we can all support with math. And so this is all of our data. This doesn't have to do with individual teachers or teams. This is something we're looking to address as a system. Again, really quickly, IAR is a standardized assessment, so students are assessed on grade level standards only. It's not adaptive, where the MAP assessment shows growth because as a student takes it, and they get questions right, the questions get harder, and so forth. So we know growth a little bit better from MAP. IAR is the same set of questions. I'm going to do some screenshots, but I would encourage anybody who's interested in these data to look at the IllinoisReportCard.com website. All of this can be disaggregated and pulled apart pretty much in any way you want. So our opening page gives some overviews of what our data looks like. The IAR information is proficiency. We have 65% of our students in 3rd through 8th grade who are proficient on the IAR assessment for ELA, 49% for math. We're exceeding the state in almost every area, although we know we have a lot of work to do. The growth box means cohorts over time. So that's student growth over time on that particular assessment. And the growth is looking at about a little over 50% of our students growing the way they should on this assessment in both ELA and math. So again, when you look at these screenshots, you can actually look over time at the district levels of performance and the state levels of performance. The green is where we want to be. That's on the scale of 1 to 5. Those are the 4s and the 5s, which equate to meets and exceeds in Illinois. Not every state uses only the 4s and the 5s. Some states include that yellow, which is the 3s. So this is why our state superintendent's really looking at whether or not that's an appropriate way to categorize how students are doing in Illinois, because we have a really high bar. We have the 4th highest standards in the 50 states. And so when we look at the percentage of students in those that 4 and 5 category, it's less than a lot of other states would have in the median exceeding because they include those threes. Does that make sense? So you can see in ELA here that we've pretty much we've gotten back to our pre-pandemic ELA achievement and proficiency on this assessment. However, we have not done the same for math. And I would say now, after having a little bit of time to dig into this across districts, this is not a Lake Bluff only problem. Math has not rebounded the way that ELA has, and I think people would probably say that that's because of just the nature of learning math and what happened during the pandemic. If students miss a skill, it's compounded every year when they're trying to learn a new skill that builds upon those other skills. And so we're really still working to fill in those gaps for kids, especially in math. You can also dig into just ELA proficiency over time, and here's that sort of view, district versus state, and then for math, you can see that as well. Another thing that we talk about a lot here is the achievement gap. And so these box plots are helpful when you look at specific subgroups within District 65. So the top graph is about non-low income students who come from backgrounds of poverty versus the ones who don't. And the 46-point gap is the gap between the percentage of students who are not low income meeting standards versus the percentage of students who are in that category of low income meeting standards. We have a large gap. And that is something that you can see persists, unfortunately, in the area of income level. And then you can also dig down to ethnicities, Hispanic versus white students. And this is again in ELA. So if you look at that top box, anyone can go on our site and disaggregate these data any way they want. And you can drop down by many different subgroups. The same thing here, ELA male versus female. We have a larger gap between females and males in the area of ELA, with females outperforming males by about 15 percentage points. And then students without IEPs and with IEPs in ELA. I would suggest, I actually believe this is a really big celebration, the 2024 data for students with IEPs. Both groups are outperforming the state. Our subgroup of students with IEPs has really done a nice job of kind of outperforming the state in the English language arts. And that has a lot to do with our learning behavior specialists and how we're working on having all students exposed to grade level standards. When you look at math, you can see the gap is much smaller between males and females. The gap is the same, almost. Students with IEPs, without IEPs, we haven't made up a lot of ground there. And then the income level, same, and with the ethnicities as well. If you were on the site and it says data redacted, that means we don't have enough students in the subgroup to measure it. You have to have at least 10. So they will not report data out when you have student groups that are that small. The equity journey continuum is just a visual way to look at whether or not we have the learning conditions here that make it possible for all students to learn. So elevating educators means, what is the environment for our educators? Are we providing staff development? Are we making sure that that we're hiring people with the right degrees and qualifications? And we're doing really well there. In terms of learning conditions, what is our class sizes like? What are we spending per pupil? Those kinds of things go into whether or not we're providing the right learning conditions. So we want to look for small gaps or minimal gaps in all these areas. We're doing pretty well in those too. But we do still have some large gaps in the student achievement. And I think the work that we're doing right now is not necessarily about just closing it. We want to close it, but we also want to keep expectations high for the students that are already meeting standards, and that's the challenge. We want to raise the floor and keep the ceiling high as well. So we've talked about a lot of these action steps for improvement, that this is the work that we've been doing on a guaranteed, viable, transparent curriculum. So really making sure that we're prioritizing the right standards and guaranteeing them for all students before they move to the next level. That doesn't mean that that's the only thing students are going to learn. That means that's the guaranteed. And then when students are ready to move on, they're going to be moving on so that we can keep extending the learning. Staff collaboration is happening a lot more, especially at the elementary level with the release time, and calibration of what do we really understand the expectations that the state has for us in terms of the ELA and math standards. That's been really powerful work already this year that Jackie's doing a great job leading. We have goals around student engagement that our administrative team is working on, as well as our building leadership teams. We have school and district improvement teams, so teachers coming together at each school to look at grade level goals and school goals, as well as district improvement team that's made up of teachers from both buildings and administrators coming together to look at district-wide data. We're trying to take a much more data-driven focus and follow where the evidence is leading us, but not just IAR, also math, also student work, when we get together and look at what our students are actually doing. And then obviously high expectations for growth and achievement, looking at our inclusive schools work, making sure that all students have high expectations for growth and achievement, and continuing to partner with our community. There's other things that we're doing, like some schedule shifts we're talking about, especially at the middle school, which I'm not totally ready to talk about yet, but those will also address some of the areas that we're seeing as deficiencies. I just read today that, LBES, we know, LBES, went from commendable to exemplary. That's great. They also ranked, I think, 67th in Illinois on US News and World Report for elementary districts in Illinois, which is really, really fantastic. We're doing good work. Sometimes it takes a long time for us to see the results of that, but I believe we have a lot of great things that are happening. I'm really proud of our team and teachers. They're working really hard. And I always say we have the best kids. I know Austin's here, don't tell everyone. We have good. Any questions? No.
I did, by the way, look at a few, comparisons with other schools.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right. Like, nobody's back from COVID in math. I mean, even Deer Path West was, they were about even in math, but everybody else, you know, they're not back to the COVID levels in math.
It's a struggle, but we are also seeing some bright spots. We've really focused on number sense and number fluency, especially in second, third, and fourth grade. And we've had our fourth and fifth grade teachers report that more kids are coming in confident on things like basic facts and number fluency and number sense than we've seen in the past. So we're already kind of seeing the fruits of it, but it hasn't gone all the way through the system yet, so we'll need some time for that.
Anything else? Thank you for that. Okay, next up, we have a safety and security update with Mr. Austin Johnson.
You do have great kids.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. I got to see that at the town hall meeting, how respectful and
Oh my gosh.
awesome all the kids were. That was fantastic. All right. Well, thanks for having me. You know, it's my first time. It's hard to believe that it's already been, I guess we're getting closer to 5 months, 4 or 5 months that I've been with you. And, very thankful for the people that I've gotten to work with. I've felt right at home, very welcomed. Very fortunate to be here. So thanks for doing that. Tonight, I just want to give you some of the updates of the things we're doing, some of the directions we're going, and things that we're going to continue to implement even into next year and then along the line. So, well, what I first want to just talk about is the fact that, you know, it's awesome to hire a director of safety and security, but one person doesn't make every school safe. So it's a shared approach, right? And I think we have the right people on the bus. We got everybody working together. The administrators at the buildings have been amazing. The teachers have, as we've been sharing things. Having a tech team and a facilities team and a business office and everybody working together with the same kind of vision about safety is really productive. I can tell you that there are some things that I've seen where those things you can think butt heads and it makes it very challenging to get things in place that you want to have in place. So a very awesome place that we are here in Lake Bluff. And also just to add in there, the work that we've already done that has already been in place, but continues with Chief Smozinski and now Chief Marsh, yep, Greg and Chief Kraft, they just retired.
Yeah.
So getting to know them and working with them and having their relationship and support. They're always there, always willing to answer questions. And you don't see that, and you truly don't in every community. I go to a lot of conferences and the police and fire, they can be adversarial with the school district and have some trouble. So to have that is huge, and to have them right in our backyard is impressive as well. So we're very fortunate. Some of the things that we're working on this year, and all the staff have seen this, and we've added this to the website, which I'll talk a little bit about though, is really making sure that everybody has common terminology and understands what to do in an emergency. If we really try and simplify it and make sure that the staff and the students understand what is being asked of them, and the parents as well, then you're gonna react in those situations to be able to do what you need to do. So some of the words you can see we've made little cards. All the staff have cards. They have them in their lanyards. They can refer to them. We put them in sub lanyards as well, so everybody knows it. But we moved a little bit away from Alice, and we're now just calling it run, hide, defend. Really, in this scenario, it would be an active shooter, an active event intruder in the building. So we don't want to call that at any time, but it is something where teachers can react, and we hope to train with the police, if not this year, as we move forward into next year, and make sure that our staff really understand what to do in those situations, how to assess and make a decision with their students on if we're gonna run, if we're gonna go into that high lockdown, or if we're unfortunately need to defend ourselves. So it's just common, easy terminology. Lockdown, you'll see a little bit of change. A lot of people would call things hard lockdown, soft lockdown. They're very different, a hard lockdown and a soft lockdown. I wanted to take it away because if we need to go into a lockdown, that means I need people to hide. I need them in their rooms, lights out, doors locked, and out of sight. And that's important because those other terms that we'll get to come into play. But I also wanted to take away that hard soft because it can be confusing as a parent. Almost their parents, you hear lockdown and you get nervous. I want to go help my child. Well, soft lockdown, which I'm going to skip to secure building and teach, that's the old soft lockdown. Well, when there's something occurring way down the road, but the police say, hey, you know what, just to be safe, we want you to secure your doors so you can continue doing everything in the building. You're going to lunch, you're going transitioning to specials, you're doing everything normal. Just nobody's coming in and nobody's going out. We're not going out to recess, we're staying safe. The police have told us something's out there. Well, we used to call it soft lockdown. It's like, I gotta get there and get my kids. I gotta help them out. No, we're okay here. The community needs to know we're okay here. Police are gonna be right outside. They're gonna be telling you we're okay. And we'll go into a secure building and teach. So it's just changing that terminology. That's a little more friendly and a little more understandable for everybody. Hold in place, I'll go back up to that one, is really, we could have a medical episode happening inside. We could have a student that's just having a bad day. And we don't need we need to have a little confidentiality for that individual, no matter what's going on. Plus, we need to attend to them with the right people. If it's a student having a bad day, maybe we need to get our social workers, psychologists there to help them. Go to a sensory room, calm things down, whatever it may be. If it's a medical episode, we need to be able to get the paramedics there without everybody in the hallway. And again, to protect the confidentiality, we're gonna go hold in place, just stay in your rooms. We'll take care of it. It's not necessarily life-threatening, depending on the medical or whatever's going on. But everything's good. We're just gonna hold in your room. Then when it's all done and taken care of, we can call an all clear and go back to regular business. So we can push these things out to the community. We can push them out to parents, but not to frighten them, just to keep them aware of what's going on. So these terms you'll see, and hopefully will make a lot of sense. And again, they're online, and we're continuing to beef up that online presence so everybody understands this as well. And I'll continue to work on that. We've done some training for staff. We just did a big CPR AED push and got about 29 staff members certified. And then we're looking into how we can get some stop the bleed training as well and get that in the rooms, a kit in the rooms if we can down the road. So
There are no at Stop the Bleed effective. So it's a tourniquet.
tourniquet, so training with, hopefully the Illinois Health Department can bring in trainers. We could work with the fire departments, but obviously stopping the bleed, if something should occur, can save a person's life pretty quickly. Losing blood is not a good thing. Couple of things that we've tried to make sure that we really have implemented in the classrooms. You can see even right above my head, all of our classrooms have a locator. And it's just a reminder, some people aren't always sure what room they're going into, right? They know they're going into, Mr. Khan's classroom, they know that room, but they don't know where they are. It could be a substitute guest teacher, it could be a mystery reader. Something's happening in that room. I want them to be able to know, here's the address, reminder to call 911, tell them exactly what room you're in. It's above the door in every single room, make it uniform and simplistic for everyone. We have our maps. I know a lot of work was done before I even got here, which is awesome. So these maps are fantastic. They show everything that needs to know on there. This classroom action guide should probably finish it or get it out, printed to everybody, I'm hoping by January. This is to give to the teachers to have in the classroom to really help them in all of the scenarios I just talked about. It's about 4 bullet points that they need to know. It really makes it easy. In a lockdown, you're gonna clear the hallways, make sure everybody's good, close your door, boom, 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 tells you what to do. It makes it super simple for them. It also, on the backside, after a drill or anything, gives them some tips on what to talk to the kids about so that they're, not scared. They can just have a conversation, open conversation about safety and security. So we're worked on that. The buildings have both reviewed it, I've received great feedback on what we need to implement and change some wording just to make sure that everybody truly understand it. And we'll get that out, like I said, probably here in January, I hope. Another thing I tried to do coming in, just finding little things that I think that are important. We added numbers to the windows at each of the building. On the outside, classrooms, offices, everything. It really helps police and fire when they're responding to an event, if they need to come in from the outside. Certainly, we want them to come in and take care of everything they need to there, but there may be a situation where we don't need them sitting there trying to figure out a map and where that room is, where they can look at the window and go, oh, there's 100D, I'm going in right there. If they have to break the window, then I know Jay will be upset with the police in it, but they'll find someone. But it's a quicker avenue to get people in there and help them with what they need help with. So these are all over, they're highly reflective. If you were to even drive by or shine a light up there at night, you'll see that it'll stand out and you can tell what's going on in that space. Another great feature that I just want to point out that was in place before me, but I just think a reminder is good, is we have secure vestibules in our building. It's where we make people talk to us outside of the building. Then we decide to let them in past the first door, and then we engage with them again and let them pass the second door. And actually, a third layer that I don't have a picture of is the offices are really another layer. You can't leave the office unless the front office lets you. So even if you get past that second door and you're in the office, you can't get to the kids without being allowed out. That's a huge feature. I don't think people really understand how critical it is to have that at the front of your building. So we have that in place. Our visitor management system, another thing that is important to have. We expect everybody that's coming in to visit us, check in, show their driver's license, make sure that they're run through the sex offender checks and things along that line, so we have good people coming into our buildings. I really like this, I think these signs, I can say we don't have these in Libertyville, so we have them here, which I think they're awesome. Maybe it'll be something I take over and share with them, but another great thing, just so people know, here's our fire extinguisher, shelter area, our AEDs, they're highly visible. Everybody can really tell where they're at and what they need to do in those situations. Something recently, working on with Kevin, excited about the PA system and how we're trying to integrate that into our panic buttons. So should we need to go into a lockdown, we can hit our panic buttons that we have in our offices in various locations that we try to make sure are accessible. It'll immediately send an announcement out. It'll start scrolling across that it is a lockdown, telling them, and there's also a visual flashing lights going off as that's happening. So it's an amazing feature to have and something we will continue to integrate with our other aspects as we move forward with doors and things along that line. We moved to full bore safe to help. We used to have some bullying links that we can click on and text the tip, and they're all good. But it can be a little bit confusing on what do I need to go to as a student, a community member, a parent, a staff member, if something's going on. Safe to Help has somebody answering a call, a text, an email, a web alert 24/7. And they are trained, highly trained. And if they deem that something is critical, they are connected immediately to our 911 dispatch centers and can dispatch the police to help us in those. So highly trained, and there's numerous ways that even staff can engage with Safe to Help. They can look down there, they can do little lessons with kids that, but the biggest part is if anybody sees something or they need to say something, they need to report it, this is the avenue. When a report is generated, it goes to the administrators. I get all of them. I think Tracy gets all of them. There's a number of people that get them, and they'll call you, they'll text you if it's critical until they get in touch with somebody. So it is a great system run by the state of Illinois, and it's the way that we need people to report anything that they are hearing or seeing or doing. And it has a platform where we can keep all that information. I guess the last thing on there is with this system is if I call, everything I say and everything that the person says back to me is recorded. So even as we go to look at the reports, we know exactly what was said, what they talked about, and should it be a bullying incident, as the administrators, they can look into that way and go back and review those notes and make sure that they handle the situation appropriately. As I mentioned, appreciate Kevin has done a great job with continuing to update our safety webpage. So if you've looked at that or not looked at it, please look at it because we did change it up a little bit. I think it's getting much better, and we'll continue to beef that up as we get going and moving forward. And that's it. There's a lot. There's a lot.
Thank you.
Lot going on. So any questions or anything for me?
Well, one question, but first of all, before I get to that, the new, whatever delineations you have, like lockdown. Yeah. Fantastic.
Agreed.
Right?
I like the separation
Yes.
of the soft lockdown.
Me too. Me too. It's, especially if you're in a panic, this is what it is. You're not, what is that one again? Is this the bad one? Is this the good one? That's fantastic. This, Illinois Safe to Help. Have the children been educated on
I think it's
this?
an area we can still work on to push out. I work with the administrators on it, but we do have it posted a lot of places. We have it scrolling even up in the library here at the middle school. We have magnets all over the place, so they're seeing it. But we need to probably talk a little bit more about that on how they should report.
Okay.
But it is out there. Nate or Kelly going to add anything on that? But it's on their IDs. It's on their IDs as well, yeah.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a free service or?
It is. It's free service.
Great.
Quick question, the new, yes.
Yes.
It's great that it's on the website. Do you think, should that go out in an email to parents? Just for parents who don't regularly check the website? Because it is really helpful to know, that is something that, well, that way, because our Facebook page is very active when there's a vehicle over there that they don't, if there's a police officer or something. And
Safety Awareness Month or anything like that?
Thanks for bringing that up. We didn't do a safety week this year, but something we've already talked about the date early in September next year that we'll do a whole safety week. We'll run our drills, we'll have everything. It'll be just a week focused on that. Can't remember, it was around September
It was early.
11th through 15th or something like that next year. Make sure we do that. We'll send out videos. There'll be a lot of communication to what you're saying and getting that out to parents. I'll need a little bit of help from Kevin, maybe Kelly, now that we know that she can do these. But working with the police and fire, I do a safety tip video each day tied in with the drill that we'll do. So just be an awareness week, really early in the school year.
Great.
Yeah, I'm sure the community would love to hear how much work he's put into keeping the kids safe, so somehow get it all out.
I'm happy to be here and glad you guys took me on.
We're happy to have you. Thank you for all of this. It's really interesting and good to know.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thanks, Austin.
Thanks.
All right, next up is Kevin, Cyber Incident Response Plan.
Yeah, so kind of keeping on the lines with what Austin's talking about security and all that stuff. Something that has been a goal of mine this year, as well as just a focal point, is really focusing on, again, tightening up our processes with cybersecurity, with security of our devices, just the network in general. Something that a lot of organizations have that we don't, that I want to look into implementing, is a response plan. You guys have the full plan in the board packet. I'm not going to go over that whole thing. I'm just going to focus on a couple key points of it. But really for us with the cyber plan, it just aims to give us kind of a roadmap. Our internal team, the district internal item to look at should an event happen, just kind of how to classify it, the severity level of it, the steps to take to mitigate it, and then just a lot of definitions, terminologies that a lot of people, that someone could pick up and look at on the fly and would really help in maybe a stressful event when something's going on. So that's the idea of this, is just to kind of give us that piece of that document, that working document that will help us work through that situation if it ever arises. One thing that we need to classify right away, and this will come into play in a few slides, is what the severity level of an event could be. And it could be as small as maybe a switch goes down and we don't know if it's something that was compromised. It could be a staff member loses or a device is stolen, and then all the way up to possibly like a malware attack or a ransom attack on our network and our systems. And so just kind of helps us right away as we pick this up, if there's something going on, determine where are we falling within this realm of action that we need to start looking at to take. Looking at some of the things that we look at in order to get to that action is how we prioritize what's going on. Is the entire district down? Is the entire district experiencing possible data breach? Do we just have one person that possibly lost a laptop? And then also kind of how these incidents could progress. We've done a lot with our device security, but if someone loses a device, that would start out as, you know, a pretty low key incident. But if we determine that there was data taken on it, or there was something that was done on it because of the loss or being stolen, then that would obviously up that incident up to a potential major or critical incident. So just things that we're looking at as we're starting to implement this document and how it can help us, again, work through these incidents as they happen. It's good in these documents, just like with any response plan, to have just the layout of who's going to do what when this happens. Again, it's a stressful time, potential a lot of things going on. So being a small district, it's nice because there's very few people to go through that stuff, but a lot of it's me, a lot of it's our network service provider, but then also who's going to communicate with our teacher, with our board. Again, in that document, it gives us a nice table of who to contact, when to contact, that type of thing. This is probably the biggest slide that is why we're coming to the board for just kind of approval on implementing this because of the because of some of the stuff in here. And so in the event that one of these incidents happen, in order to mitigate it, in order to move through it quickly and problem solve, it may be outside of you know, a board meeting, maybe outside of even working hours. So just within this document, having the ability as the tech director, as a superintendent, as Jay, to kind of call upon and be able to take overtime hours from a outsourced company, or if we have a piece of equipment that we have to replace in an emergency to get the district back up and going, or, you know, even start investigating data breach and what was lost or what happened. Just getting the ability to kind of do these things as they come up. Again, hopefully we never have to use something like a catastrophic, but it is there. And then one thing that's really important that doesn't cost money, but is important, that as you know, the director of the tech team have the ability that if we have a compromise, if we have something going on in the district, that we can start just kind of going on and possibly disconnect the whole network or start disconnecting components of it to start going through that. So just having this in place gives us that ability to go ahead and do that if we feel that, you know, it's at the point where we need to. And then the last part, just laying out the communication, you know, just so everyone knows in the event something happens, how much we should be communicating, how frequently that's coming. And so how, you know, how Lisa's getting updates, how you guys are getting updates. If there's a huge attack and something's going on, just that expectation level. And then finally, a small piece of it, but helpful for us to continue evaluating year after year and throughout the year, is when something happens, even if it's something as small as someone clicking on a spam email that they enter their information, and we've actually had it happen twice already since we did this. Just documenting it and having that documentation in place. So if something happens weeks later, months later, where all of a sudden we find out that that did cause something, we can go back and figure out kind of where it started. So just, again, a lot more documentation, putting these processes in place to help us better understand what's happening and what's happening.
Fantastic.
So you wrote that whole thing?
AI wrote that whole thing.
I read it, I thought.
I wrote it and then I went through and tweaked a lot of stuff.
We'll do cybersecurity Wheel of Fortune next time.
No. No, it's impressive. Thank you.
Can I add one question? Just, do we have any, proprietary data that's on our own servers, or is it all in?
Yeah, we're really fortunate. Mostly, everything we have is cloud hosted. Everything. The only thing that we have on site is our Bell notification system, which doesn't house any data or stuff. So yeah, everything we have, PowerSchool is cloud hosted, Skyward, those are our two biggest ones. And then I've worked with them to get their kind of disaster recovery plans. And I have those on hand to get that.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna.
Yeah,
So
so-
we know what our vendor.
Yeah, so I have that
Backup,
that
sorry.
documentation. Our team has it in a drive, so we know kind of what they're doing on their end. And then what the expectation is if something happens with them. If something happens with us, where some data is possibly changed, breached, we do have the ability to roll back 30 days at any time. So, we've done it before, and that's.
But that's not critical data though, that we have on, that's resident on our servers.
No, our biggest, potential threat is our own devices. Someone's device gets stolen and someone gets into it. And there's sensitive data in there. But hopefully, again, we've done enough to kind of work through that to where that's not even possible should it be stolen.
This is a huge area of growth for the district, both, safety on all levels. And we had done a lot. We had a small team, but it's been really great to have people working in these areas specifically.
Oh, so
Absolutely.
it's just, what you just said then was, so if like, I'll pick on Nate. If he had just a spreadsheet with sensitive data on it and his computer was hacked, that would be the kind of risk we're facing now or something.
Potentially, yeah,
Yeah.
but we've done a lot, much to the dismay of some staff, but we've encrypted every hard drive. So if anyone gets it, turns the computer off and tries to do something with the hard drive, they can't get into it without passwords, then it eventually erases if we can send the command to it. Everyone has to use two-factor authentication when they log into their devices now. Their devices auto lock after 15 minutes and log them out after 30. So we've done a lot to really protect and make sure that if this happens, it's very hard to get into them.
Okay, great, thanks.
Historically, probably don't know the answer to this, but like how often are these type of events happening at this school? Like minor events, is that like?
In this school,
Yeah.
it hasn't happened yet. We've had two incidences this year, low key, where, and it wasn't even our fault, someone in one of our ROE, the ROE,
It was
their
the
account got compromised
the health
and then sent an email to two of our staff members. to click on it.
Okay.
And it was legitimate because it came from that email, but,
Okay.
it's unfortunately with school districts, it's becoming more and more prone
Okay.
to attack and
Okay.
it's just because we have sensitive data that's valuable to people.
Okay.
Dark web.
Well, when will we approve that cost?
I think it's.
It comes up tonight, yes.
We're approving the.
Or is that next month? No, put it on for next month.
To like, if it, outside of normal billable hours, if you're able to do it, and like, we'll cover the cost. That is the vote.
Yes, that we have your authority to do.
They have the authority to make the decision in the
Yeah.
moment because we told them they can spend the money when needed. If we approve it.
So we'll approve it next
Next
month.
month.
The maintenance grants due before next month, so that's.
This is so much stuff I've never even thought about, and I'm really glad that you're thinking about it.
Don't have to. The goal is to not have to think.
Where are we like in regards to other school districts, not to like pat ourselves on the back by any means, but like, I feel like this is kind of high level.
We've caught up fast
Okay.
and we've passed a lot very fast.
So we have that report card, when was that, a couple months ago, we had
Right,
the one that was very sad, the,
the D.
Yeah. We're gonna go through that again very soon. We're gonna go through that. Hopefully that grade is much higher.
yeah, I can imagine that.
But I mean, does the high school have something like this in place? Like, do we?
Fortunately for us, we have admin and the board backs us, and so when I have gone to some of our other districts and had meetings with them, they're amazed, like, how did you get, how did you get approval to put two-factor on your laptops? And I'm like, just did it, didn't really ask. We needed to do it, so it's not really an option.
You asked for forgiveness.
So I do, I would say Kevin's gotten a lot done, and with Jay and Sylvie, there's been a lot of work done in that department, but I also would say our staff, while they've had some growing pains with all this, and our building administrators have done a lot to smooth that over and to really support people as much as possible. It has been a change, with the with being logged out after 15, like it does interrupt the flow of things. So I have to give our staff some credit too for understanding that this is a necessity and getting on board with it and like doing it. I mean, they're doing what needs to be done, and it's been very well organized and presented in a way that makes sense. And we all know that this is a big issue. It's just, it can be hard to implement. And so kudos to you because you've done a great job.
Nobody really ever wants to implement it, wants to do it, but once it happens, then people understand quickly, like,
Yeah.
the reason behind it. And
Right.
Unfortunately, we have a lot of examples in the country to show.
Sure.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
It's been suggested that maybe some of my tax levy presentations are a little dry. So we're gonna do something a little different tonight.
So,
Now I'm gonna put it up on the screen, so I don't, maybe we can shift over something.
I may.
Well,
Will be on full screen or just?
the score is gonna be up on that screen.
Warrington, come on.
Just like the one thing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like Price is Right built into this too. Come on down.
We'll be planning for $1.3 million.
Bring your bill. Tim, do you want to take my spot?
So this is, you're doing Jeopardy, but.
That's all about the tax law.
Yeah, I got it.
Do you want to come sit here?
You don't-
Got it.
Yeah, and I can move. No?
Tim, you want to sit where?
I can just say.
Me too. We collaborate on any of our answers?
Every person for themselves.
So I'm majoring in here. I forgot the right.
Prizes is what? You all already won.
When I got up at 3, all of it.
Oh my goodness. Hey.
Now you're not. Now you're not.
Shut up.
You said your presentations were.
Not me.
Okay. We're
Wait, are you doing your presentation first or?
No.
We're off and running.
We're off and running. All right. So today's categories,
Oh, no, it doesn't work.
vocabulary.
Okay.
Yes, if you haven't.
The little
opened your
button.
buttons, you might want to.
Warm them up.
Legal/procedural. Levy calculation,
Oh.
I studied.
technical details, taxpayer impact,
So many good.
and tax trivia. I had to use the template, and so I wouldn't have made this many.
Clips or tax.
Jeopardy.
Yeah, that's so good.
So I guess,
Lisa, started.
we'll have the board president start and pick a category.
Thank you, Mr. Khan. I will take vocabulary for $100. I love it. Wait for the agenda. Yeah.
The total amount of property taxes
Oh, you have to wait until. Sorry, that's too soon.
It's like I don't even need to do it.
Cheating like.
I,
I did try.
Yeah.
I tried.
All right, let's start over.
the total amount of property taxes billed to taxpayers.
Go ahead, Tim.
Go ahead, Tim.
No, I.
No,
It's too soon.
no, you're good. You're on.
None of us know.
What is levy?
I think we go with one response.
Is it EVA? The estimated,
Yeah.
don't lose it.
What is?
Is it taxes?
The tax extension, the tax extension is what is billed to taxpayers.
Really
We just doing positive. Yeah.
Still doesn't sound
I
right.
remember the word. Do you love it, Tom? So do I go again? Nobody got it?
Yeah, no, you gotta pay $100.
Ready to check it again.
Okay, let's go, legal procedural for 100.
This is required if the levy is greater than 105% of the prior year's. Hearing carried.
It's a,
You say what is?
no, hold on. What is a public notice?
I think we'll give it.
Stop doing. What is it?
There's certain taxation here.
Like the public, like,
Yeah, well, we have to provide public notice of the hearing.
of the hearing. I didn't
That's
finish
what
my
she meant.
question, and that's, she was, all right, I get 100. Thank you.
Well done. You go now.
Can I, oh, okay, then, taxpayer impact for 100. Jay.
The tax levy is a portion of the individual property based on this. I think it was.
I've changed my mind.
You can phone a friend.
Oh, the estimated assessed value.
Yes, I'll give you that. What is the equalized assessment?
Sorry, I thought it was on, sorry. Don't put that in your head.
Well done.
How much did I get? You got it?
And it's not very important.
Oh, I get to go?
Jump on the board. See?
Okay, levy calculation.
The index published by the federal government that measures the annual inflationary impact.
Overpriced index.
See what is.
Yeah.
I did.
Proper. I'm gonna phrase that in a question, but we'll give it to you.
Oh,
It goes actually, this is the one that they use in the tax levy, the all urban consumers unadjusted, index from, they used in 1982 base. If you're ever looking it up on the Department of Bureau of Labor Statistics.
I was just going to.
We will be next
Now
year
I
when we
don't
study
have
for this.
Okay,
I don't even know that.
so
levy calculations for 200.
Oh, boy, now we're getting.
this law limits the annual increase on existing property. CPI, yeah, that is the correct answer. PTEL, which is the property tax extension limitation law.
Tim, everyone wants to know what your buzzer is saying.
Boom goes the dynamite.
PTEL only applies to non-home rule taxing districts in Cook and Collier counties. A home rule district is like, an example of home rule would be the Village of Lake Bluff. So they're not subject to PTEL. They can charge, or they can levy whatever they want. Or where PTEL was approved by referendum. So this is how the state looks. The Collier counties were the first in 1991 to be under PTEL. And then you can pass a referendum, and if it passes, then your county is subject to PTEL, and if it fails, then it is not. So the red counties had failed referenda. The light blue counties had passed referenda, and the white counties had nothing, so they're not subject to PTEL. So really only about half the counties in the state of Illinois are subject to PTEL.
It's not even a tax tract.
Okay, so Tim,
Tax trivia for 400.
Tim.
The big points. For LB 65, the 24 levy will be revenue for this fiscal year.
2026.
Yes, for the fiscal year 26 year.
Nice.
Wow.
25, 26 fiscal year.
Yeah.
We defer our June collections to the following year, and that is, that's when it was revenues. Good job.
100 for each school.
Way to go.
Look at you.
Okay.
You did say.
Are you negative? Like, are you taking away from?
I'm not.
I'll stop answering. Are you?
Oh, no.
Funny if you.
We're not.
Amy's decided.
Amy's
Not
good.
today.
Not today, next year.
Everyone's to.
So I'll take vocabulary for 500. Wow, that's right, guys.
The taxable value of all real property.
Lauren's looking at you.
That's still, isn't that still the estimated, or whatever it is?
EAV.
What is the EAV?
So you got a trick answer.
Trick, I know.
That was a tricky answer.
Sorry, I didn't go back. I didn't do the question, but I didn't show the answer.
Sure you
So I didn't get five.
No, you did. I pressed the button.
Just.
Oh, that was vocabulary for
Well
five.
done. Is that gonna be the answer to all the vocabulary
Yeah.
questions?
Yeah, what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Vic, what would you?
Okay, so, tax levy for $500.
Which?
Levy calculation.
Levy calculation.
Property tax that provides additional tax revenue above and beyond the CPI increase.
What is new property?
Dang it.
What is new property? New property is basically new construction or additions to existing property that were not taxed in the prior year, or property that was exempt during the prior year and is now being taxed. And so this is just, illustrative of PTEL. This is they take prior year's extension, which is often the aggregate extension base. You grow it by CPI, then you add the taxes from new property to get the current tax extension.
That was 500.
Taxpayer impact for 500.
Really cool.
If an individual property's EAV increases by more than the average for the township, their taxes will increase by.
Less than the CPA.
It's really not fair. He's on the finance committee.
More, what is more than?
What is more than CPI?
Nice.
So if their property value increases by more than everyone else's, then their share of the tax burden is gonna increase. And they're gonna pay higher taxes than others.
Fast.
Like,
Stick one on the line.
you get to pick.
You get to pick.
Legal and procedural for 200.
In Lake County, all property is reassessed every blank years.
3?
What is?
What is 3 years?
What is 2 years?
What is every?
What is 5 years?
What is every year?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, what is
What is
that?
4 years?
What is 4 years? Quadrennial reassessment year. The last quadrennial reassessment year was in 2023. So every 4 years in Lake County, and basically in every county except for Cook, every 4 years they reassess all property. In Cook County, they do a third of the property every year, so.
Oh, they
each
like
one every
circle
3
through?
years, right. So, but for Illinois, for every county except for, this is like Lake County based. Cook does it 3, but everywhere else it's 4.
Oh, see, that's why I'm not buzzing, because I know all the Cook County.
Why is it we get a different assessment every year?
Well, they don't reassess you, but they estimate what the assessment is.
Oh, that's why it's called estimated.
So that's one, that's another question.
What was that?
Is that
300?
That was,
Oh,
1,000 actually?
Yeah.
No, if you guys.
So Laura,
I'll
I'm sorry.
do
Or-
tax trivia for 200.
This accounts for almost 90% of Lake Clips. Winner got it.
I would do teachers, what is teacher salary?
No. What is property tax?
I don't know who's,
It was.
I'm giving it to Anna.
Give it to Anna.
what is property tax?
Thank you for
And
clarifying
Anna's
that.
on the board.
That you're
I
right.
know it's an answer though, so I'm gonna hit that.
All right, let's go tax trivia for,
In Lake County, the 2024 tax levy will be billed on these two installment dates.
oh, isn't September and April? I was gonna say January.
Close.
Maybe it's
June and October.
Close.
July and October.
What is June, oh, sorry,
Well, yeah.
what is June and September?
June and September of 2025.
All right.
Oh,
25 and September.
oh, I pay it every year. You guys pay your taxes?
Yeah, so this is kind of how.
Back off and
how it
that this
works.
month.
Yeah.
No problem.
These are the two installments on June and September of 2025. It's counts as revenue for the 25-26 fiscal year. And the EAV is based on January 1st of the year. And they use the prior 3-year sales data to calculate kind of the estimated increases when it's not acquiring revenue.
Okay.
Dick, category.
Okay, nobody's done this one, so technical details for 300.
These lower the real EAV of real property.
What is assessments? Reassessment? You know what? We should have building.
Like smiles.
It's terrible.
These lower the EAV.
What is decline in value?
Good.
Tax exemption. So common exemptions, the general homestead exemption is the most well known.
Gotcha.
That lowers your EAV by $8,000 before taxes are applied. So they take your value and they lower it by the homestead exemption. These are some of the other less common exemptions. Dick, I don't know if you qualify for a senior exemption yet, but if you do, you get another $8,000 when you turn 60.
I qualify for 3 of them. What?
Are you a veteran too?
But, yeah, I don't think I
Sorry.
don't qualify for the veteran.
Sorry.
We don't have to.
I think you have to be.
So other examples of exemptions, our schools are exempt from taxes, so our EAV is exempt. We have an EAV, but it's exempt.
Where's the house, your house burned down exemption?
Hospital.
See that one up there?
No, 17,000.
Okay.
It's picking.
Oh, so, levy calculations for 400.
The 12-month change in the CPI used in the 2024 tax levy is as of this month and year.
December of 2023.
Nice.
What is December of 2023?
I could deal.
Thank you for cheating.
Carrie's in the second.
Oh, okay, what is, or?
At 2.4%.
You're doing good.
Yeah, I'm okay.
For it. You got it. What do you want?
Vocabulary for 400. Yeah, stop.
Vocabulary for 400, she says.
Uniform percentage applied to assessed values to bring the average assessment to the same percentage of market value.
$5%.
What's the name of the?
I'm going off his
Cook County?
Again,
Just say no.
anything?
I said it, I was wrong.
What is an equalization factor? In the term equalizing assessed value, the assessed value, they apply an equalization factor, sometimes they call it a multiplier. And that will adjust for differences in assessment between townships. And also, Dick, when you were asked about non-reassessment years, they look at the last 3 years of sales data and they look at the growth or the average. Basically, they take your assessed value should be 1/3 of your market value, and if it's not, then they apply this factor to bring it up. And so they look at what the sales data said, and they apply a factor to increase the value of all property in the township by the same factor. In the absence of necessity. Yes.
I hear you. Okay, who's going, Carrie?
There, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I had to Google on the, what is tax trivia, oh my God, I'm trying, tax trivia for 100.
Extra.
There are approximately 230 of these.
Taxing districts? What are taxing districts?
Nice job. Is that a high number or low number for,
Illinois has the most taxing districts of any state. Of
course they do.
what our county?
Well, it's a lot in our county, but just because there's school districts, there's park districts, there's mosquito abatement districts, there's road districts, township districts.
Mosquito abatement.
Libraries,
They don't know. Run there.
forest preserve districts, like it goes on and on.
Okay.
Water treatment districts, so.
Tax trivia for 300.
This category of taxing district accounts for 2/3 of the Illinois property tax.
Is a school district tax? No.
What are public schools?
300.
You didn't sound effects too?
Me? I'm just getting everything right.
Oh, how can you?
Second.
Taxpayer impact for 400.
What's those answers up here?
If EAV increases faster than CPI, the tax rate does this.
Goes down. I'm just throwing out guesses right now, just so you know.
Oh.
It is decreases.
You're on the board.
Tax rate is the total tax extension that we asked for. Divided by EAV. So if your EAV is going up faster than your tax extension, it's
That's a
negative.
smaller number.
And it lowers the tax rate.
Laura.
He's on the board.
You gotta pick a new one, Laura.
Oh, sorry. I'm texting my husband like my nightmare is happening right now. But I was not told about. Vocabulary for 300.
This is 1/3 of market value. Who got it?
What is the EAV?
When in doubt.
Oh,
That's what I was gonna say.
Did you
Maybe.
I wasn't paying attention to who won.
Well,
Yeah, a
neither.
tax. A tax. Forgot.
It is the assessed.
Oh, the assessment.
Not equal.
Not equal.
Not EAV.
Assessed value is 1/3 of market value by law in every county again, except for Cook County.
See again.
In Cook County, it's 10% residential, 25% for commercial.
Just send to him, say thanks for your help.
Technical details for 500.
To ensure that the full amount of available revenue is captured under PTEL, taxing bodies often overestimate.
I was gonna say, what is CPI?
I don't know, what is new property value? New.
You're right.
It's new property.
New property.
So what we ask for is an amount of money. We don't ask for a rate, and the rate is the rate is calculated based on what we ask for divided by existing property value. And so we don't know what new property value is gonna be yet, and we don't know what our rate's gonna be yet, so we overestimate the amount. Because they take the tax rate that they calculate and they apply it to new property. But we're not asking for the rate, so in order to make sure we get all the money, we had a cushion in there to make sure that we kind of.
I remembered that.
That's a good one.
Oh, taxpayer impact for 300.
Total tax extension divided by total EAV of existing property.
Wait, the CPI, the CSI, the CPI.
Three different answers.
What is the levy?
So it's not CSI.
It's not-
Yeah.
CSI is a TV show.
Yeah.
So the way they distribute the taxes to all the individual properties is they take the amount of money we ask for in the levy, they divide it by the EAV, and that gets you a rate of dollars per value. And then they apply that rate against your property value, and that's how we calculate tax.
All right. Then, Bill, then. Me.
Yeah.
Let's go. Pick me. Legal and procedural for 300.
The tax levy must be filed with the county.
I'm pretty sure, what is December 3rd? Dang it.
September 30th.
That's the budget.
December 15th?
Well, that's a good idea.
Go for it.
What is the last Tuesday of December?
That was a trick.
Last Tuesday of December, tax levy has to be.
Tuesday.
Or I'm not coming.
This year.
Okay, what is vocabulary for 200?
You did it.
I did do it.
The total amount requested by a government entity to be raised from property taxes.
Levy, what is levy?
What is the tax levy?
Third time's a charm.
You said it anymore. Oh, I got that.
Yeah.
Taxpayer impact for 200.
Dickies. Gotcha now.
You find that check.
Aggregate taxes or total taxes on existing property can increase by no more than this.
5 or 6. What is 5? Is that 10%?
What is CPI or up to 5%? So it can never be more than 5%.
CPI.
So PTEL limits,
Either one.
PTEL limits the increase in total taxes, but not in individual property owners' taxes. So your individual taxes can go up by more than CPI or 5%, but our total road tax revenue cannot.
Or CSI.
That's easy.
A total CPI. Okay.
CGI. Oh, me. Legal procedural 500.
Any abatements or reductions to the tax levy are due to the county member state.
March 1st.
What is St. Patrick's Day?
Second
Celebrate
Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay, yeah. What's the second?
Not a joke.
Okay.
Technical details for 400.
The level of debt that can be issued without a referendum for which annual payments are equal to the principal and interest payments that the district had when they were first subject to PTEL.
Can you give us a hint? How many words is these?
Yeah, that's like so.
This is debt that we can issue without a referendum because of PTEL.
What's the maximum debt level?
All right, I'm just gonna. The debt service account. So this is important to know. So our district has a DSA.
Remember saying ESA. Okay.
This is how the 2015 bonds that we just refinanced, that we issued for this middle school were DSub bonds.
Yeah.
And it's money that, so we said, we basically were able to issue bonds without going to the taxpayers and asking for permission.
Yes.
Because we have a DSub. Because when PTEL was implemented, we had an amount of, we were paying debt service. And so the total amount of interest and principal we paid in that year, we're allowed to issue debt up to that amount and it grows by CPI. So when these bonds expire in 10 years, we would be able to issue more debt without government funding.
Okay. It's coming back soon.
Who's up?
Still active?
Yes, legal procedural for 400.
The taxing body must approve this at least 20 days prior to certifying the tax levy.
And then what is our, it's what is our, it's not.
Estimated levy. Come on, you're right.
Oh, my God.
What is
No.
Later on in the board meeting, we'll be passing the tentative tax levy estimation.
Tentative tax levy.
There's a resolution, and we have to do that tonight because the certification will be in December,
Read.
more than 20 days.
We
Before
had
the
to
second Tuesday.
really help with the equalized and estimated actual.
All right, Amy, you get to pick.
Oh,
I mean, you have.
I'm gonna go with,
Come on.
I'm gonna calculations for 300.
A district may increase its levy by more than CPI or 5% if they pass this.
What is the referendum?
What is a referendum?
Nick, we gotta get to.
Nick, you need the next one.
Did Tim just?
Yeah.
There's a lead.
How much are you willing to risk?
Oh, my gosh.
1,600.
No whammy, no.
The category was technical details.
You got us.
Andy, you.
No, it's just, let's go.
Funds for this purpose are not part of the tax levy.
Somebody, Kevin.
No, no, it's answers.
Oh,
sorry.
Just for him.
It's
okay.
It is.
I think you could maybe post it.
Need a hint?
Play the music, Jay.
Is there a hint?
We're gonna do that.
Lost all of it.
The answer is debt service. Only operating revenue is part of the tax levy. Debt service is automatically extended based on our principal payments by the county.
Terrible.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Learn so much better next year.
All right, the last one.
Yep.
A group of self,
It's a fun.
You're beating more.
yes, so our levy is issued by fund. If we issue taxes in the transportation fund, it can only be used for transportation, and so we keep funds to keep track of all of our stuff.
Chance.
Oh, there's time.
All right, there is final jumping. What is a fund? What's their levy?
Fun.
Yes.
Okay. Final Jeopardy.
That's it.
The Final Jeopardy category is assessment.
Oh, do they have to write down?
So you have to write down the amount of money you're willing to risk.
Okay.
On your board.
No more than you have.
So no more than that.
I want to pass you. It's gonna save us money.
I don't know.
Yeah, Tim, you can
Technically,
have,
You can
Give
still
the
vote.
warning for the best buzzer
yeah,
award.
it would have been cool if you doubled it, but you didn't. So you gotta take
how much should we give Tim?
600, 1,600.
Leave him at 1,600?
That's cheating.
No, really?
This is wax house over there.
Does everybody have their wagers?
Ready?
Yes.
Successful assessment appeals after the board of review result in these. Write it down on your
Write
board.
it down.
Oh.
Write it down. On your board. Don't know. Gonna go around the table. Everyone has to do it, right?
Yep,
Oh, what is?
Are you gonna do the answer and then they have to go around and say it?
sure.
And do the lowest to highest.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Ellie knows. You gotta do lowest to highest. That's right.
Like value?
So the answer is
Who has the lowest score?
Oh,
refunds to taxpayers.
oh, okay.
All right, so Lauren, yeah.
What is decrease?
Yeah, me too. There you go.
I don't know my debit or.
Oh.
It doesn't really.
Tim, what did you say? Yeah,
So-
Tim.
Reduction in tax.
Uh,
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
That's right, it reduces our tax revenue because we have to refund it back to the tax.
I'm.
So if you do, and if you ask for an appeal that is greater than $100,000, it goes to the board of review, and they determine whether or not to grant it. And if they do, and you get a successful reduction at that level, then it's before the taxes were calculated, so it just redistributes
Right.
all of the EAV, and it doesn't, the district's not out any money.
It's
So,
your taxes.
in other words, If you get so if Ann appeals her taxes and the board of review agrees, then her EAV goes down and the taxes she would have paid get redistributed amongst everybody. The district gets the same amount.
I have decreased tax.
So we get decreased.
Higher
taxes.
Everybody else.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is after the board of review. So if it's granted after the board of review, so if it's a property tax appeals board,
I thought it sprinkles into everybody else's.
if it's before the board, of review,
Oh,
then that you are correct if it was before the board of review level. After, if it's a certificate of error, a tax objection complaint, or a property tax appeals board ruling, those are beyond, those are after the board of review. So that people say, I don't like what the board of review said, I'm gonna take it to the next level. And then if it rules in their favor, the district has to basically issue refunds out of our next year's revenue back to those people.
Yeah.
But there was a new law passed in 2022 that allows us to recapture that money. So the clerk automatically extends an amount equal to what we've refunded. And that gets spread across everybody the following year. So everyone else does pay a little bit higher, but we can recapture some of that money. So this year it's worth about $150,000 revenue to the district, because that's what we gave back last year and we didn't collect.
Where does that money come?
It comes from the taxpayers. So that basically whoever got refunded, their refunds get added to our next year's levy and billed back out to everybody.
Oh, okay.
So the people who actually got a reduction are paying a little bit of that, and everybody else is paying most of it. So if you've got a big taxpayer in your district that pays a huge share of your taxes and they successfully appeal, that gets redistributed to everybody else. But we don't, in Lake Bluff, the top 10 taxpayers only account for like 4.5% of our taxes, so that's not the issue here.
so who won?
Best tax levy presentation ever.
Yeah.
We're all winners.
Technically, who won? Who were keepings?
I don't know, because of the wager, I didn't.
I only wagered 60.
Tim, 65.
And so that was just like the basic 101. I'm just gonna really quickly go through. I'm not skipping it.
He's like, you guys don't know enough.
So just this year, the CPI was 3.4%. That's what we're using in our levy this year. Our EAV is going up by 10.3%. So property values in our township went up by 10.3% this year. Prior year was 6.1%. So because this is not a quadrennial reassessment year, they look and they are applying this multiplier to all the properties of 1.08%. That's based on the last 3 years of increases in Shields Township. And we have 1.7 million of new property this year, which is the same as last year, but it's a little bit less. I'm not gonna, this just is our 5-year projection. I put a bunch of assumptions in based on our current teacher contract and our strategic plan, and this is what we're projecting for fund balance for the next years. So what this is basically just saying is that in my assumptions, I've assumed taking the maximum tax increase that we can, which is CPI. And if we do that, we still are kind of on a negative downslope. So we, not only are we allowed to ask for it, but we need to ask for CPI this year, which is my recommendation. And this is what it looks like. So last year, we had 1.7 million new property. This year, it's the same. EAV last year went up 6%. This year it's going up 10. CPI last year was greater than 5%, but VTEL capped it at 5. This year it's 3.5%. So in our tentative levy that you'll be approving later, the operating base extension we're asking for is the 3.4% increase. I'm asking for another 41,000 from new property, which is that 1.7 million. And then I'm padding it because I want to make sure I collect all of that 41,000. So I'm asking for an extra 17. You're asking for an extra 17 to get to 19 million. So that's a 3.7% increase. Our tax rate is going down because our EAV is going up faster than our CPI. It's going to 10% instead of 3%. Our debt service extension is going down a little bit based on our payments and based on the refunding. So the total tax extension will be a little over 20 million next year, and a net increase of 3.2%. And our net tax rate is going down to 6%.
Okay. Awesome. Why are we subject to PTEL, but the village is not?
Because we are a non-home rule taxing body in a county that has passed the tax referendum or was mandated by PTEL.
Sure.
So, the park district, the school district, all the school districts, like most of the taxing districts are subject to PTEL, right? The county's not, or the,
Village is not, because it's a different type of tax rate.
yes. And basically, it's any municipality over 500,000 is automatically home rule, or you can have a vote and vote to be home rule. And I believe that must have happened because.
So, yeah, a couple of things. What, in your report, what does CPPRT stand for?
Corporate personal property replacement tax, which is, so.
Oh, no, I know what it is, okay. Yeah, I read somewhere
Well, there used to be a personal property tax that was levied on people, and when it was abolished in the early 70s, they passed this law to replace it, so it's a replacement of that corporate tax, the corporation.
And your projections, where you're projecting out like, 4 or 5 years, what were you doing for, the estimated assessed values?
So I'm assuming that new property was 2 million. And that equalized assessed value are going up, I think, 2% a year? 2%? Yeah, okay. The increase in equalized assessed value doesn't really impact the revenue that we get, only the increase in new property. Because as EAV goes up, our tax rate goes down. Because we're asking for a dollar amount that we take our revenue, we increase it by CPI, we ask for a dollar amount. And then the county, in order to get that dollar amount, divides it by EAV. So if everybody's EAV goes up by 50%, that doesn't mean their taxes go up by 50%. It means the tax rate's gonna go way down.
I understand. So, but, yeah, and I'm on board with the 2.66. Because I mean, I'm looking at what people get in the mail and what they're looking at. And I just calculated it for me. And so my taxes would go up. They would increase by let's see, $276.
Do you know what percentage that is?
Yeah, so I thought that was okay,
It should be close to CPI
3%.
because it's a non-quadrennial assessment year, so the township applies that multiplier basically to everybody. So unless you have an outlier, everybody's EAV is going up by roughly the same amount.
Yeah, no, I'm just looking at what's in front of, what people are gonna be staring at.
Yep.
I mean, last year it was $314, this year it's would be $276. So I think that's reasonable.
Yeah,
Because
and
that's not a big number that's gonna cause, too much of a reaction, I don't think. But it was, when I looked at this and to your point, for $1,000 of market value of a house, we've gone down every year. So it went from $9.32 for me, down to $9.11 this year. And next year it would be $8.48. So that's a real good trend.
your tax rate,
Yeah, because as you say, property values went up by 10.6%. So, that amount that I'm paying as a percent goes down.
and
And
what,
so that looks better.
what we're asking for this year, what was recommended to be asked for a median house in Lake Bluff is about $170 increase per household for a median home.
Yeah, I would say that. Unfortunately, I gotta tell you this. People in my position are getting priced out of this community. And we're in the house we've been in for a long time. We need to downsize. That's not an easy thing. But even downsizing is hard to find good values. So it just behooves us. And we got the budget coming up, to wherever we can for a lot of the taxpayers here. It's a burden.
I do think the village is trying to address that with the middle housing proposals to build some more kind of housing options for people who are looking to downsize
Yeah.
and stay in Lake Bluff, but you're right.
Oh, but it's people and all of us now want ranch homes without stairs. And there's people that have ranch homes that get 2 or 3 or 4 letters a month. People asking for it, so it's getting very difficult, and we're 20,000 plus is a big number for all of those guys on social security and pensions and, so it's a big number.
My crew that's empty nesters, becoming as empty nesters, everyone talks about how they'll have to leave. So my biggest concern, because I'm gonna die in my house, where shall I stay?
Going up and.
Once it's built. Once you have walls. But yeah, it's like that's a big conversation, like, we're out.
It's a really hard thing to balance because I do, I like that this board and this administration takes it very seriously that the tax paying is such a burden. Right? We have very high taxes and 90% of our school budget comes from taxes. From the property taxes.
That should have been on.
But it was. But also, I think like we're getting at,
80% of it goes to the people. It's a people business in terms of what we spend money on.
well, and we need the money for our schools to run, for us to have excellent teachers, right? And for us to have all of the programming and things that we want. It's a really hard balance, is my point. I appreciate what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm kind of laying the groundwork for the budget. I think we just gotta make sure every single dollar is really, of taxpayer money we get is really focused on achieving the goals that we got.
For sure. Agreed.
We're definitely doing that this year. We're done.
All right, well, thank you. Would you like to move on to the state project maintenance?
We're gonna get the 100 grand.
Oh.
Who's the winner?
So hungry.
Let's pass it around. I think everybody's a winner.
Everybody's a winner.
So the state has a $50,000 matching grant available every year for maintenance projects. I've applied for 3 of them and received 3 of them in the past, to do various projects around the district. And then what you would be approving tonight is just the setting aside of the matching funds to apply for the grant. It's not applying, it's not approving the project. The project I'm proposing is for a backup emergency power generator at the elementary school. We're just adding more and more things that run on power, in the district, and our current emergency backup power at elementary is battery-based, which is become problematic. Actually, Andy came in and was looking at it, and we didn't realize that it wasn't working. So we hadn't had the need to do it, luckily, but he was testing it and found that we have to replace them every 2 years, half of them every 2 years, so they get replaced every 4 years, and quite an expense. They're unreliable, and are not, there are better ways to do it, and they also just work on the lights. So this would be about a $200,000 project. The generator would go behind the elementary school on the west side of the building out of sight, and would only obviously run in case of emergencies. So that's the project I'm proposing for the application. We did not, we looked at the middle school as well, and it's a lot harder to find a place to put it at the middle school, so we've delayed that. There's a lot of requirements for where it can go, and we couldn't find a place for it.
So we just have one at the elementary.
We'd have one at the elementary school. That's not to say we will never put one at the middle school, but one at elementary was easy. Relatively, so that'll be the first one.
Does the power go out a lot here?
Not a lot.
I feel like it does.
Yeah, I mean,
How
it
did
does not for extended period. it does, but-
It's happened.
Yeah.
And then when you apply for this grant, you specify what it's being used for, or is it very broad, like
No, I-
maintenance in case we get the grant and then,
I specify in the grant what it's being used for.
okay, can you change that if need be?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So, but you do have a couple years to spend it. So for example, what the electronic door locks is what I applied for a couple years ago, and I still have access to that money, even though we prioritized the PA system last summer over those.
Okay.
But that has to be spent by September, so we can, it's next summer.
Any questions on that? Any other questions?
If we aren't successful in the grant, is this something,
It's something we can still choose to do.
isn't that?
Or buy a new battery?
Priority.
I mean, it's probably one of the higher priority things that are left to be done. I think the elementary school boilers are also on priority, so we can always apply for those, and we would probably have a better chance on those, but I'm trying not to. We just replaced the heat exchangers, so I'm trying to hold them off for 2 years. But otherwise, there's not a lot of other things that would be big ticket items that we would need to spend. Buildings.
Thanks, Jack.
That will be approved tonight, hopefully, up for approval tonight.
It's up for a vote tonight, yes. All right, so next we have the IASB 2024 resolutions that are eligible for appeal. So if you guys recall, when we did the resolutions, there were 4 of them that we did not talk about. Because they are not going to be presented, now they are.
And the districts all have an opportunity to appeal the decision of the IASB board. So all of these were recommended continue to not adopt. So if anyone wants to talk about changing.
If anyone disagrees with that or has a different vote, let's talk about it.
Because Tim needs to be prepared.
There's 10.
The delegate.
Tim will be pretty good.
You should bring your buzzer.
Enough excitement in those.
I will say for my part, I agree with all of the recommendations to do not adopt. Does anyone disagree with any of the recommendations on any of these?
Do we feel that they should be reconsidered? Because I think the first vote
Oh, we should talk about that. Okay.
is whether or not they should be reconsidered by the assembly, and I think it requires 2/3 of the assembly to say, yes, reconsider this before they can then go up for the adoption.
Okay,
Based on their
well-
analysis, it sounded like they did their due diligence of like, there's laws in place, like there's really good, it's not like these things aren't happening everywhere. So, no. Is my answer.
I would also say no, I don't feel like they need to be up for appeal. Does anyone else?
I agree.
I mean, okay, I had issues with them, but I understand the rationale. Right. That's the hard thing about this often. Yeah,
They can reword these and come back in another year.
always, yeah, definitely.
Do you feel
What do you think?
Do you need anything else
No,
from
no,
us?
I think we're good.
So are we in agreement then that no, it's a ribbon, that no, are we in agreement that no, these should not come up for appeal?
Correct.
And are we in agreement with the recommendations of do not adopt? Should it come up for appeal?
Oh, yeah, correct.
Okay, anything else on that? All right, thanks, everybody. Next up, we are having a second discussion on a survey for the ninth graders.
Yep, just another opportunity if anyone wanted to think about those before I contact the high school. I did have a suggestion, in question 2 that we insert high school after, just for clarification on question 2 for high school. That was, Dick had suggested that. And then a couple of other folks thought that maybe we should focus it not on your K-8 education, but more just middle school preparation, since we feel like that would be closer in their memory, be the middle school as opposed to trying to evaluate the whole situation.
And more applicable, I would agree, to their high school education. Yeah.
Can we put in the little blurb paragraph at the beginning of each survey, how many questions there are? Because people tend to finish the survey if they know like how many they have. Or does it say at the bottom, like 1 of 12?
No, I can put,
Can you, yeah,
That's a good point. Like I never fill out a survey that says this is going to take 10 plus minutes of your time.
right. But if they know it's only 12, they might get halfway through and be like, is it 30? I'm not gonna keep going.
Yeah.
But if they know it's like just 12 or,
yeah, I can do that. I can do
14,
question 1 of, I can do
Yeah.
that too.
thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Anything else on that? Okay, so now up for second read is press policy 116. This is the one all about Title IX.
Yeah. Just as a reminder, we're doing a lot of the things that is already indicated in the recommended policies, but we just need to approve the policies and adopt them so that we're in legal compliance. Any questions on that?
Okay, thank you. 2025-26 school calendar.
Yep, so as a reminder, we have a committee of teachers and administrators who work together to draft the school calendar. We go off of what the high school is proposing, generally speaking, because we want to align our vacations as much as possible. And we look at things like parent-teacher conferences and start days and institute days to try to make it easy on our families. The high school is starting late this year because of construction, so we are trying to align to that, proposing that our first day of school be an early release on August 27th. And we will include our 3 institute days for teachers. Teachers will come back the Friday, the 22nd, and then be in the 25th and the 26th. We'll utilize that week of the 18th for our new teacher training. Other things of note would be parent-teacher conferences. We really got a lot of good feedback on backing it up to Indigenous Peoples' Day, so that families have a nice long weekend. And then we got more participation from parents because we feel like they felt comfortable to hang around and then also got a nice little vacation. So we're gonna keep doing that. Winter break is pretty similar to how it has been in the past. Keeping the additional institute day on January 5th after break for teachers to come back, kind of a softer start. February conferences are also backed up to President's Day, so the same situation, we're gonna have a nice long weekend. And then we have the 1 institute day in May, and the last day of school would be an early release on Friday, June 5th, pending any emergency days that we would need to use for weather. There aren't any conflicts in terms of like curriculum nights. We're already working on curriculum nights. We're not competing with the high school for that. And also same for parent-teacher conferences, not the same as the high school. So that's up for approval next meeting. So you have time to think about it.
Or is spring break in alignment
Yes.
with the county and like for the teachers?
The high school. Yeah, I mean, at most districts have
Yeah.
it that week.
Okay,
But we really just try to make sure we're aligned with the high school.
right.
Anything else on the calendar? Okay, thank you. Then we can move on to our action items for the evening. First one is life safety and facility assessments. So may I have a motion to approve the life safety and facility facility, I can't say that today, assessments as discussed in the October meeting.
So we,
We have any discussion or anything we want to say about this?
How long does it take? Like, are they in here for like 2 weeks or?
It's pretty quick. You're probably, I don't know, 1 or 2 visits, and then some time for the report writing, so take a month.
By the way, I think there was a little date confusion in it, and when he was talking about it being completed by the end of the year.
Well, that's for so there's 2 parts that are going on. There's the health, life, safety and annual inspection that's required by law every 10 years. That's due to ISB by September of 2025. So they are just saying, we're gonna finish it in time to submit it by the deadline. But they'll do the work.
Okay, it kind of indicated that the report would be like by 2020, January 2025, but it's really January 2026.
Well, I think the dates in there assumed that I would just sign it right away, since we took some time to get approved. It'll just push those back to the moment. So we'll probably get the reports in spring.
Okay. It's not gonna happen in December.
No, they'll, yeah, if it's approved tonight, I'll send it to them and we'll schedule it probably for when we come for break.
Anything else on that? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please, Lauren?
Laura Brinkstone. Yes. Anne Hill.
Yes.
Amy Connell Donahue.
yes.
Carrie Steinbach.
Yes.
Richard Driver.
Aye.
Lauren Hirsch, yes. Tim Penich.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. Next is the approval of the 2024 tentative tax levy. May I have a motion to approve the 2024 tentative tax levy as presented tonight?
So moved.
Second.
Anything more to discuss on this? Lauren, could you have a roll vote, please?
Tim Penich.
Yes.
Lauren Hirsch, yes. Amy Connell Donahue.
Yes.
Anne Hill.
Yes,
Carrie Steinbach.
Yes.
Richard Driver.
Yes.
Laura Brinkstone. Yes.
that motion passes. Approval of the state project maintenance grant. May I have a motion to approve the state project maintenance grant as just presented?
So moved.
Second.
Anything more to discuss on this? Lauren, could we have a vote?
Lauren Hirsch, yes. Richard Driver.
Yes.
Anne Hill.
Yes.
Amy Connell Donahue.
Yes.
Carrie Steinbach.
Yes.
Tim Penich.
Yes.
Laura Brinkstone.
Yes. That motion passes. Press Policy 116, Title 9. May I have a motion to approve Press Policy 116 as presented?
So moved.
Second,
Lauren, could we do a call vote, please?
Carrie Steinbach.
Yes.
Laura Brinkstone.
Yes.
Tim Penich.
Yes.
Anne Hill.
Yes.
Lauren Hirsch, yes. Amy Connell Donahue.
yes.
Richard Driver.
Yes.
That motion passes as well. Okay, next up, we have personnel report. I do have to read it in its entirety. It's not too long tonight. We have 4 new guest teacher hires. Brianna McDonald, guest teacher, effective October 23rd, 2024 at $150 a day. Rabia Rashid.
Yep.
Guest teacher, 10/23/24, effective date for $150 a day. Imani Marjoram, guest teacher, effective October 31st, 2024, $150 a day. And Nathaniel Marjoram, guest teacher, effective October 31, 2024, for $150 a day. 1 resignation, Sherritt Gentle, paraprofessional. Sherritt Gentle, my apologies.
No.
Paraprofessional at LBES, effective November 12, 2024. May I have a motion to approve the personnel report for November 19, 2024?
So moved.
Second,
Lauren, can we have a vote?
Anne Hill.
Yes.
Laura Brinkstone. Yes. Tim Penich.
Yes.
Amy Connell Donahue.
Yes.
Richard Driver.
Yes.
Carrie Steinbach.
Yes.
Lauren Hirsch, yes.
That motion passes. Great to see that we continue to have guest teachers.
I know.
Okay, next up is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the following: open session meeting minutes from October 22nd, 2024, regular Board of Education meeting. the treasurer's report, the impressed report, the bills report, the P card report. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda for November 19, 2024, as presented by administration?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just gonna say, is there any discussion on this?
I had a couple of questions for Jay on
Sure.
the treasurer's report that I just didn't understand. I think on page 6, you got, pupil support,
Yes.
$297,000 year to date. What's lumped into that pupil support category?
Pupil support is one of the state funding categories. It's social work, psychology, nursing, speech pathology. And those areas.
Okay, so it's kind of special. Special services thing for them,
Yeah,
not external services, but I mean, okay. And then, for, in the general fund, I think, because purchase services in the general fund were like under budget, by about $27,000 or 7%, which doesn't sound like a big number, but I just wondered, is that, significant, or do you expect that to continue, or?
right now, it's still pretty early in the year. A lot of timing, things can happen because I've got an annual budget and then I'm predicting how much we'll spend each month. So if it's spent at a different rate, then I'm
Right.
expecting it could still.
So right now, you don't think it's significant?
I don't think that's significant, and it's, on that number, it's not that much.
So those are purchase services basically for things for the teachers?
Well, if, in the general fund, purchase services are a lot of software licenses, any kind of professional developments, any kind of, I mean, it actually also includes lunch service, so there's a lot, if it's just a group of purchase services, it's really anything we're paying for that's not a salary or benefit. And it's not an object, so it could be a number of things, a lot of things fall.
Okay.
A lot of our outplacements as well, are purchase services, so when we send kids to special education districts. Or when we're, for services like some of those things that we talked about, where we provide them ourselves, the social work and the speech pathology and those things, if we send them somewhere else to get that service done, then that's a purchase service.
I just want to make sure that if we have something in the budget and there's an expectation by the staff that, that funding's gonna be there, that then suddenly we don't come to them and say, well, no, we're not, it's not there anymore, or fund, we're not gonna, we're cutting that out.
Yeah, I mean, we're managing the budget for the whole year, managing towards a number. So as we move through the year, things will go up and down. That's a pretty small percentage on not a huge number, but yeah, that's why we monitor it monthly, and things that we can make adjustments to, we will if necessary before the end of the year.
I mean, to your earlier point, we don't have a lot of areas in the budget where we can make adjustments because of our teacher contract and salaries and benefits. So within purchase services, within supplies, within software, like those are the areas that we have some control over, that we've been really going through pretty meticulously and deciding whether or not things are being used, or they're efficient or effective, or we have redundancies where we can save money. So sometimes we do make those decisions and we try to give as much notice as we can to staff and help them with, changes that they would need to make so that we can save some money that way, but yeah.
Then we might be under purchase services and over in supplies, and if those equal out, then would be okay. So it's just, it's a whole process where throughout the year, we're looking at everything and trying to make sure we get to a balanced amount at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. would anyone like to have anything pulled out of the consent agenda for a separate vote? All right, in that case, Lauren, could you call vote, please?
Laura Brickstone. Yes. Richard Driver.
Yes.
Ian Hill.
Yes.
Amy Connell Donahue.
Yes.
Carrie Steinbach.
Yes.
Lauren Hirsch, yes. Tim Penich.
Yes.
That motion passes. We do not have any FOIA requests this month. And we have come back around to public comment, not seeing anybody in the gallery for public comment. We will call it a night, so. May I have a motion to adjourn the November 19, 2024 regular Board of Education meeting at 9:14 PM?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.